You got that right. And if you'll step out, you'll training. So you know, you come out and look at them. First, you gotta be able to try to very interesting. Yeah, this is the same issues now. He asked me about these. Good afternoon. Welcome to the July 12th, 2024 Beavercreek Rotary meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank our greeters, Brandon O'Shaughnessy, that came back from Japan just to do that. Eric Marcus, the Ticket Master, Beth Handworker for helping to set up, Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Swick for the great programs, Jill Gundel for the website. And thank you all for those that responded to the survey that I sent out. Got some good responses there. We're going to talk about those a little later. And you probably noticed too that you didn't get your email until this morning. That's because I don't know how to use that ADP right now. I put on a schedule for Wednesday delivery and I noticed that it didn't show up. I was out of town all week. So, but we'll get that fixed and hopefully. Okay, education.
Well, good afternoon. Would you join me in prayer? O Lord, of the universe, you have given most of mankind a strong desire to do good, to be honest, to serve others, to faithfully fulfill their obligations to their neighbors. Help us Rotarians and humans to do good. Help us as Rotarians and humans to be honest and ethical in our dealings. Help us Rotarians and humans to serve others. Help us Rotarians to faithfully fulfill our obligations to our neighbors, in our community and nation and the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Secretary's report, Joe Jenkins. Here with me today.
I have you here with me today. Brian, Karen. Can you hear me?
Yes. So welcome everyone. Chris Hadley. Come forward. There you go. There's one. Yeah, there's one. Yeah.
All right, good afternoon to Rotarians, guests, long-term guest and speaker, Michelle Riley. Today is July 12th, 109 year, which makes us about 52.8% of the way through 2024. You're keeping track. Today, I think I can say that this is our official first meeting of the Don Adams and Magic Rotary era. So fingers crossed we get off to a good start. And I won't take too much of Don's thunder, but just kind of interacting and talking with a handful of members here, what we have in store for this year, just kind of seeing what Rotary has in store for this upcoming year. It's pretty awesome. So definitely stay tuned. Probably more surveys and more things to come to you. So it's been a while since we've had an official meeting. So we've got a handful of birthdays and anniversaries to be caught up on. So for past birthdays, Elizabeth or Beth Handworker celebrated her birthday on June 20th. Dave Dunn celebrated his birthday July 2nd. And Melissa Quinn celebrated July 1st. So we've got a couple partner birthdays. Shannon Graham, his wife Brenda, celebrated her birthday on July 9th. And then the guy I think we all know, David Hayes, celebrated his birthday July 8th as well. Got a handful of member anniversaries. Starting with 3 years, we got Matt Vaughn. 5 years, the president Don Adams. 7 years, Bob Choi and Todd Figgins. We got 17 years for Jonathan Hebrink. Got 21 years for Ron Folkworth. I've got 29 years for Barbara DeMary and Beth Kelly as well. And then moving on to the wedding anniversaries. We got out here again, Jonathan Hebrink celebrating 18 years of marriage with Heather. We have Randy Morgan celebrating 26 years with Michelle. Eric Marcus celebrated 30 years. And for some reason, it has your partner's name listed as Eric. So that's yeah. 35 years. Jeff Rita and Carol are celebrating on the 17th. We got 36 years for Carrie and Jay Souter, and then Bob Choi. It doesn't have a year, but I'm assuming it's more than one. So anniversary on that. If you're looking for something to do, I've got a couple things going on tonight, right here, more so out back, but here at the golf course, we have the party on the patio from 6 to 10 p.m. Sunday, we have the party in the park at Dominic Lafino Park. From 7 to 8 will be the Unity Saxophone Quartet. And then Thursday, the 18th, the Beavercreek Chamber will have their monthly business links get together at 55 Rivers Cold Brew from 4:30 to 6. If you despise the awful taste of coffee, but you need caffeine, I will recommend they have a lemonade nitro brew cold coffee, which sounds weird, it tastes weird, but it's actually kind of good. So give that a shot if you're not a big fan of the coffee flavor. All right, moving into this day in history. 1854, Henry David Thoreau wrote a novel called Walden, which is a reflection of simple living and self-resilience. It was published to inspire generations to seek a deeper connection with nature and themselves, which, even though this book is quite old, you can pick it up, the ebook up for free on Hoopla if you have a library card. 1962, there was a band that played their first gig at the Marquee Club in London, which kind of started their legendary career runs. One of the most influential rock bands. They went by the name of the Rolling Stones. 1970, Thor Heyerdahl successfully crossed the Atlantic Ocean on the Ra 2, which is a papyrus reed boat modeled after ancient Egyptian designs. This was to illustrate the possibility of ancient transoceanic voyages and shed light on early navigation. I think I am one of many who would never have hop on a self-made papyrus reed boat on the ocean. But hey, more power to him. Especially back in the 70s, no GPS, no cell phones. That's the situation for me. 1984, Geraldine Fierro became the first woman to be nominated for vice president on a major party ticket in the United States. That's kind of a big deal. And then 2013, scientists at the University of Cambridge successfully reversed paralysis in dogs by injecting cells grown from the lining of the inside of their nose. This breakthrough research offers hope for future treatments of spinal cord injuries in humans, which I would never guess the cells from the inside of the dog nose curing paralysis, but just goes to show dog is man's best friend. All right, so since we're kind of in a newish month, we have a ton of things to celebrate for the month of July. So month of July is National Fragile X Awareness Month, National Hemp Month, National Contract Sewing Month, National Anti-Boredom Month, Independent Retailer Month, World Watercolor Month, National Cell Phone Month. And then these next ones, I think someone got together and just did a theme here.
Yeah.
We got National Culinary Arts Month, Grilling Month, Hot Dog Month, Picnic Month, Baked Beans Month, Peach Month, Blueberry Month, Horseradish Month, and Ice Cream Month. So if you're wanting to celebrate a whole bunch of things all at once, have a cookout. All right, pop quiz. There are only 2 days in the year in the United States where there are no professional sports being played. When are they?
Oh, there you go.
That's a clever one. Only 2 days come the day before the baseball All-Star game and the day after the All-Star game, which is this upcoming Tuesday. So not see Monday or Wednesday any baseball, football, soccer, basketball, hockey, none of the sports unless it's a replay. So if we want to celebrate things today, we got National French Fry Day, which we have, but we'd always hope for dinner. Eat Your Jello Day, National Collector Car Appreciation Day. This one I think is inspired by the Cleveland Browns National Paper Bag Day. I didn't write it. Just going by what I saw on the internet. National Different Colored Eyes Day, National Simplicity Day. And then coming up on Sunday, feel free to text Sean Grant all the pictures of your tape measures at home because it is National Tape Measure Day. And I'm sure he's going to love seeing all of your current tape measures that you use around the house and in the office. All right. And then lastly, coming up on Monday is Social Media Giving Day. Which this encourages everyone to use social media to make a difference in the world by promoting charitable giving. Now, what I could do a shameless plug to donate to charity, to Rotary, our In Polio Foundation, or to Dayton Food Bank, or you can go to www.foodbankdayton.org/give money. My ask is that we all take a few minutes to either leave a nice, authentic comment and not a canned one that you can copy and paste everywhere, or share some of the nonprofits or local shops that you think the world all needs to know about. Now, kind of going on to the topic of canned things. I want to go over some canned lines and want to do kind of a fun experiment here. So if you have ever used any of these canned lines on purpose, I want you to raise your hand and keep your hand up. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Takes two to tango. Don't judge a book by its cover. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Everyone's favorite, it is what it is. And then on that note, today's fine. If your hand is raised, $1. If you're not wearing your pin, that's $1. And I didn't keep track, but if you did come in late, Boy Scouts, Girl Scout honor, that is $1. Don, time to have the bucks.
Yeah, I thought I learned a long time ago. Thought I learned a long time ago not to raise my hand, but. Happy Rocks. Who's happy? We've been gone 2 weeks. Somebody said to have something. Ed.
Brian and I were back
31.
3 weeks in Japan, and wow, the family had a great time.
Oh, very good. Welcome back. Eric.
Well, my wife and I successfully completed our 30th wedding anniversary celebration that started on the 30th of June and ended on the 8th of July. Had a fireworks show at Indian Lake that lasted 30 minutes. We went out in the boat and watched it. It was great. So it was, I'm not going to give $30 for 30 years. I'm going to give one for the 1 year that she's put up with me.
You are running 30 then.
David.
So I got together with my siblings and my parents, and we had a vacation to celebrate my mom's 80th birthday with all.
Oh, very good. Anyone else? Who's that? Little dog fell weeks, hasn't it? Delicious. Take it on. 3 for 2. Proceeds all go to the Christmas basket. You need to take it. So number is 168. Anybody got that? 809. Still looking for the Queen of Hearts. And I would really like for somebody other than Joe Jenkins to win. Yes, he's won the last 2. Oh, White Rose. Very good. Any announcements for the club? Anything we need to know about? All right, Dales, come up and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Don. Good afternoon. Very happy to introduce Michelle Riley. She is a dedicated leader with a wealth of experience in nonprofit management, serving as the president and CEO of the food bank in Dayton. Under her leadership, the food bank has nearly tripled its food distribution, serving over 98 agencies across Montgomery, Greene, and Preble counties. Michelle has been instrumental in addressing food insecurity, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2019 Memorial Day tornadoes. She emphasizes community-led solutions and has initiated innovative programs such as the Beavercreek Greenhouse, a year-round hydroponic facility producing fresh produce for the community. Michelle's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion is evident through extensive staff training and her advocacy for systemic change to address poverty and hunger. Please welcome Michelle.
Thank you. That was kind. First of all, I know how many nonprofits there are, so thank you for inviting me. I thought I would just start because I always like to talk about what my why is. Why am I a nonprofit? I had my own company, I sold it, and then I went back to school. So I was in my 30s. I had a son that was born that had spinal meningitis. So I had to be a stay-at-home mom, which I really enjoyed. When he was well, I went back to school, then I went back to school. And so I was dating public school teacher and then went into administration and then went to work for the YWCA. So why is that important? My wife, for being in services, my grandma. I was raised in a 900 square foot house. And I love to tell that story because the first time I got to thank my mom for being so wonderful, because my mom, my grandma, my three sisters, right? We all lived in the same home, and my great grandma had wing arthritis. And so she had to be cared for. And my grandma was a nanny. So she worked for an affluent family. And she taught me how to share. She taught me that what you have should be enough. And she taught me good work ethic. And so my why for why I am in service, because she taught me that being in service is something that is an honor. And that, you should be proud of the fact that you are in service to others. So I love your four-way. I love your mission. And I love to talk about that. First time I thanked my mom. My mom's uphill. It was the first time I got an opportunity to thank my mom for doing such a great job raising us. I was talking about the fact that we were, all of us, 7 of us, 4 different generations raised in a 900 square foot house. And I got off the stage, my mom marched right up to me. She goes, it was a 960 square foot house. Where do you think we put your grandmother? Okay, yeah, all right. I was like, Mom, you kind of missed the message here. So that's number one. That's my why for why I love, and I do love what I do. I've been at the food bank now 12 years. Their mission is to eliminate hunger and its root causes. We are a government-supported agency, so we are bipartisan. And I know the words EDI and DEI can be very dividing, but for us, when I say eliminating hunger and its root causes for us, we're talking about why we have mine. I am very fiscally conservative and responsible, so I'm not just interested in feeding the line. I'm also very interested in shortening. And the way that we is I have a team. I'm going to start when the tornadoes lay down, but I have a team currently of 85 at full staff, and we have on paper $33 million nonprofit for $7 million. 6.8, who's counting that last 200,000. I count it every day. So that of half of my team, 47%, my commitment is to be involved with folks who have a criminal background history. So 40% of our employees have misdemeanors and felonies, and many have been to prison. And our goal was to prove that I'm believing when I tell you I'm really being heart liberal about you do the crime, you do the time. But what we found was, because I have 2 folks in my family who went to prison, that once you do the time, you come out.
It's being returned as we speak.
About the taxpayers that pay their salary to keep them in office, to have them do the job of president. They do not necessarily care about anything other than getting power. And
Yes, it's been dropped off.
Give us some good stock information. Sorry about that. No worries. So what we found is that once you do your time and you come out and you really want to work and you may have good work ethic and you met our values, which are similar to yours, and I'm going to tell you about them in a minute, that you should have the right to work, right? I don't want you in my line. I don't want you taking government food. I don't want you relying on the system. I want you up and running. So at the food bank, that's what we mean when we say root causes. And when we talk about equity, we mean that we are trying to provide the things that you need coming straight out of prison that you can show up as your best self. So I'm gonna put that to bed right there, and talk about how we got started. Again, I told you 2 folks within my family, have some substance abuse problems, and other folks would say that our family, in terms of check boxes, we grew up with. Now, if you'd have said that to me when I was this big, I thought it was scared you. Because I never went without a meal. Because my girl was a nanny, she was also a seamstress, so the clothes that they couldn't use, we then got. My grandmother remade them. I was very proud of the fact that one time in school, I got best dressed, right? So when you talk about poverty and where you lie with that and how you think about it, it's different for everybody. I've never had a Democrat, I've never had a Republican say, don't feed the hungry. And how we go about it is very different. So I'm very careful about those 3 initials because they can be very dividing. So for us, it's reentry work, folks who've been involved in the criminal justice system, and professional development. So when the tornadoes laid down, we had 23 people, and we immediately went to 32. The governor, who I am thrilled with, gave us 32 National Guard because on the heels of 15 tornadoes, which wiped out 2 of our zip codes, he sent me 32 National Guard. We were the first in the nation to come up with it. Of course, all the other nations, all the other states tried to be copycats, right? They were all asking for the National Guard, but it was your governor who immediately sent us 32 National Guard at our food bank, and we were open at the time 6 days a week. On the heels of that, COVID lay down. And what happened was, Lieutenant Governor Houston and the governor gave us $3 million for 3 years, $1 million a year, as we were pulling out the National Guard to backfill with our team. That's how we went. We were very fiscally responsible. That's how we went from 32 at COVID and started COVID to 85. So what does our day look like? Who are we? And why do we do what we do? We're not a pantry. We did have an on-site for 6 days, an abundance model where we were getting so much food from donors during COVID that we were open 6 days a week. And the abundance model meant that if you found yourself in our line because you didn't have enough food, you could come through our drive-thru. We have intervention in lieu of conviction. If you find yourself with a misdemeanor on a drug charge and you are given community service, then you come to work for us, and that's how we had the drive-through. We've closed that down 1 day every week until we got to 1. And just recently, we decided to close that last day because while you hear a lot about the economy being very, up and down, it's good now, groceries going straight up. We opened our drive-through strictly for emergency basis. And we promised the public that because our job, we're like the Costco, we're not a pantry. That was open on the request of the governor. And so we're closing it down the last day. And somebody called the governor's office again. I don't know about you, but it's the governor's office. Yeah. It's a big deal for me because he's been so good to us. And he said, hey, I've had some calls that you're closing the food bank. And I was like, no, sir. He said, what is happening? I said, we're closing the drive-thru. He said, talk to me a little bit about that. And I said, I promised you that we would not be direct service. Our job at the food bank is to serve the 117 folks that both charity-based and after-school programs, community-based, any of the shelters that you think about, they all get their food from us. So every time I'm doing a direct distribution, I'm limiting the amount of food in Montgomery, Green, and Preble that can be distributed to our partner agencies. And like I said, we have 117 of them now. About 70% of those are faith-based. And they, again, just gave you a rundown of what kind of what they look like. So they said they were thrilled that we were closing down that last day, right? So we do have partnerships that are very important with the University of Dayton. They're really good to us. If you can imagine, because I'm in reentry, I have some folks that have very low reading and writing skills. And we're scrutinized off, well, why are we taking Sally coming straight out of prison versus Sally that has a 4-year degree? So everybody at my place has communication training, and through the University of Dayton, regardless of their reading and writing skills, everybody is yellow belt trained in Six Sigma, Lean Kaizen, and everybody, 75% of my folks have green belt. Why is that important? It's important to us because it leverages the ability to raise money based on what we define as high performance. You can have all the will in the world to want to be a good employee, but if you don't understand what that looks like and you don't have common knowledge about how you talk about that, it's very hard. And we got started in Lean Six Sigma and Kaizen because we run our nonprofit like a business. I was trained with from the Mateel Foundation and taught with them for 4 years. We used their president's model and the DOC model. For any of you that are familiar, direction, operation, and control, to run our nonprofit. And then as a result, we won from Feeding America, the highest performing food bank, and then Wall Street 24/7 picked us up as the second highest performing food bank in the United States. So that is your food bank here. And there are 206 in the United States. A lot of people call themselves food banks, but there are 206 in the United States, and we all have defined territories. So the day that I got the call that we won second highest performing in the United States, I thought they were, I'm telling the truth, I thought they were talking me. It was a friend of mine at the CAC, he was the administrator, he's like, you guys are on CNN, you want second? I was like, stop screwing around with me, I'm tired, what do you want, kind of thing, you know? And then I was embarrassed, so I came out of my office the next day and I was like hooping and hollering that they got second highest performing. I was like, you have 2 hours to celebrate and then tell me what first. And then go back in your office. Anyway, that's my team. That's what we do. If you said to me, like, what's the most important thing that you accomplish? Our partnership with the University of Dayton is really important. I hired through sabbatical and retirement their chief knowledge officer, and they heat map for us. There's a lot of misnomer about how people get food from us. You don't just get in our line and get food. We are the keepers of the data for the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Now, can you lie to them? Probably. Should you? Probably not. But we are the keeper of their data. So push of the button, I can tell you by zip code how many people are hungry, how many people are in that household, how many times they've used us, which pantries they've been to. Real game changer for us because prior to that was paper and pencil. And so that antiquated, we couldn't get real time data, get that. And the reason that I love the system so much is we give the University of Dayton all that data, then they heat map it for us. So for example, there's places in Yellow Springs that we knew based on there that was not in walking distance. If you did not have food or you were food insecure in your household, you were not going to walk more than 5 miles. So they put together heat maps that show us where there are large pockets. And one of the reasons I closed down the drive-through in Montgomery County is because they're inundated with pantries and ways to get food. That's not good or bad. We want to have an abundance of ways that if you're lacking transportation, that you can get the food that you need. But Greene County and Prep were our concentrations. So we take our mobiles. And what that means is a refrigerator truck shows up. I get a lot of scrutiny over that. It's embarrassing that people have to stand in line for food, but if you really need food, regardless of the weather, it is the single fastest way for me to roll my truck up, pull out 6 tables and unload a semi of food in your neighborhood. So I use those and move those as we need to. We try not to take advantage of that. What we try to do is if we have to bring our mobile to your place, then we try to find a brick and mortar, a church, somebody who will stand those up. For example, we are at the libraries. And so if you have a library in your area in Montgomery County, you can go then to the entrance. Let me see. What is the biggest heartache I have right now? Because of our work, because of them being recognized for doing so well, we been able to leverage a lot of money, and that money and the grant came with consultants that gave us new software that is what I call big girl software. And so, right now, I would say that the food bank is not doing a good job with their partner agencies when it comes to inventory turnover and how we bid. And it's because for the last 6 weeks, we have been completely redesigning how we do get food in the door and out of the door. Because last year we distributed 17 million pounds of food. Yeah, so every 4 days, every pound per pound comes in the door, goes back out the door. So you can imagine if you're one of my 117 partner agencies trying to get an appointment to come in and get food, and we've got everything turned on been upside down. But that should be solved in the next 4 weeks. We have a team that Feeding America sent to help us. But I just did not anticipate what taking what they call an ERP system. And most ERP systems are first in, first out, right? So FIFO. Ours is first in, first expired. So it's a lot different. Most people, when I speak to them, they want to know how we get our food. We do not get federal dollars. There's a lot of misconception about that, but we do get federal food. And the way that happens is it's regulated by the USDA and the FDA. Or us are the ones that are our regulators and our auditors. So if farmers grow too much corn, and the USDA says we've got a glutton of corn, or I always have chicken, or we have a glutton of chicken, or we have a glutton of this, or we have a glutton of that. The USDA across the United States goes in and buys that product off. And the emergency food program, which is a federal regulated and distributed program, gets that food, and the 260 food banks across the United States get the food. That is our federal food. And it's about 1/5 of everything that I distribute. The second way we get it is through the state. And I love this program. It really was your current governor who was so insightful about this. He said, we want you to pay this range of money, and we're going to give you this much money, and you must spend it in the state of Ohio for farmers. And so we get 2 grants that come through. One is for shelf-stable product. So canned goods, some folks who are homeless and or transient don't have the ability to cook, so they are canned goods. Most of them pop. And then the second thing is for produce and protein, and all that has to be spent in the state of Ohio. So we get the money from the governor's budget, and then we spend it in the state of Ohio. We have an Ohio Association of Food Banks. When you hear that, that is just the 12 of us. We all have 1 seat, 1 vote, and then their food sourcing team sources that for us. And by goal factor, we get that food. So that's the second way. Third way is I have my trucks on the road every single day. They don't require a CDL. Everybody at my place makes $19 an hour, and I pay all their insurance. It's an HRA, so it keeps the costs very low, but I load on there the first 2,500 for them to use for healthcare. So we have a lot of interest and keep employed a lot of folks who want to drive a truck. And so they are at 60+ stores every day. There are 5 routes every day. So everybody you think of, from Northland Market to Myers, Sam's Club, a Walmart, we're on their back dock. So what they call number 2s, anything that's not pretty that they won't put on the, let's say they get a box of bananas in the bottom part, this is discolored. Then we get all of that. What am I forgetting? I have a budget of about between $750 and $1 million a year to buy for programs. We don't run very many programs because if we do, we're usually stepping in the space of the nonprofits that we serve. So we do run 3 that are very important to me. One is a school backpack for children. We send out 1,400 of those a week. I think it's a terrible program that was set up because I used to be a teacher, and as an assistant principal, I had bus duty. So I'm the one that had to clean up all the pudding on the back of the bus, right? So I was like, who came up with this brilliant idea? But, and the part of the problem is because the backpack's going on a child's back, they might have 3 or 4 other siblings. And that backpack is not enough to feed that family. So we started working with the Bill Gates Foundation. They sent some folks that are way smarter than I am. And they said, keep doing this program. And I was like, please explain to me why. And they said, because this is the single greatest avenue for you to set up the family to then be put back into the food system where they can actually get help. So every one of our 1,400 a week backpacks have a love note in it. It says you can do it. It's an encouraging love note. And on the back then, I'm telling you, I'm not sure why I got this job because sometimes I feel so stupid. On the back just has a stamp that says, if you need food assistance, please call this number. And now I love the program, right? So that's program number one. Program number two is what we call TSAP. So that's the federal funding that I explained to you. And then the third, which is my most favorite, is our aging program. It's called CSFP. So if you're a senior and you're on fixed income, we will provide not only a box of food for you, but also produce and eggs and some other protein. I love that program. That is administered through the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Let me see, what else would I want to know if I was in your seat? I love what I do. I think that for us, the food bank, this election is for us, caused a lot of talk about our strategic plan because depending on what the next person is in office will depend on a lot of what our funding streams are. So I'm going to retire in 4 years. I promise I was never going to be the teacher that said I got 46 days and 24 days. But I tell you 4 years because I've already picked my successor. I have a young lady who's been working with me for all but 1 year. She's a farm girl that understands what we're doing. She believes in the team that we have hired, and she will uphold the culture at the food bank when I leave. So the board has named her as my successor, and this is my last 5-year strategic plan. If you ask me what keeps me up at night, what keeps me up at night is that for the first time before the tornadoes, there's a lot of people with a lot of rhetoric. We're the ones that have data. So all during COVID, they're like, our lines are blowing up, our lines are blowing up, our lines are blowing up. We'd be like, our lines aren't blowing up. They blew up at first, right? So at first with the National Guard, I closed the highway down. I'm sure saw some of the pictures. But then as soon as people realized it takes a lot of time to be, most people are not going to wait in line for 4 hours for a trunk full of food if you do not really need it. So we saw the line because of fear and well enough, right? And because people didn't know where they were going to get their groceries or they had lost their part-time jobs. There were a lot of real good reasons why people jumped in our line and then they jumped back out. So what keeps me up at night is right before the tornadoes was the first time since 2008 that we saw the lines start to decrease. And anytime there's fear, the line jumps back up and I can almost predict it. And we have some of that when there's election talk that's fearful, it goes up and then it goes back down. So if you ask me what keeps me up at night, what keeps me up at night is I no longer know. And I told you I am very outspoken about running my nonprofit as a business. I no longer know what a true historical year looks like because that's how you build your budgets. That's how you figure out how much you have to save. That's how much you figure out how much you have to ask for and how many people you need. But because of this chaotic trending, we don't know what a historic year looks like anymore. So I'm looking forward to, before I retire, things leveling out to where we understand who is in our line and how best to help them. Because just feeding the line is not enough for this community. For your community, for any community, feeding the line is not enough. Understanding who's in our line, why they're in our line, how to get them out of their line, for me is the greatest gift that I can give back to the people that I serve. So, how ready was I? Where's the clock?
You did pretty weird.
Am I good? So I'd like to open it up to some questions if you have any about the food bank. That was speed dating 101.
Wait a minute. that you think that we can get rid of the line? Or some other things to do to get rid of the line?
So, I mean, because I own my own business, I travel. First of all, I have my own consulting business on top of this. The board agreed a couple years ago because I'm a teacher by nature and I have a master's degree in teaching. They're like, go do something else. It's not our job to keep you busy. Keep running the food bank, but you should be teaching too. So I travel across the United States talking about reentry. A lot of people are like, how are we doing this? Like, how 47% of your folks are clean and sober. Some of them have been with you for over 10 years. How are you making that work? And it's not a repeatable model. Because I couldn't have done it as owning a for-profit business. I'm just telling you the truth. Because it's taken us since 2014 to build to where we are now. And it's required a lot of our four, I promised you this, our four value words, which if you don't follow those four value words, you cannot stay at the food bank. They are trust, and trust goes both ways. I trust you, you trust me. We grant that when you step through the door, we don't care what your background is. So trust the words. So trust. Accountability, I'm going to hold you accountable. You have to come to work, you have to be clean and sober, and you cannot get in trouble. Respect, you will be respectful to me, and I'm going to be respectful to you. And then inclusive, which means everybody has the right to work at the food bank. And those four words, for me, help shorten our line. So we know it works inside the food bank, but I'm at a loss on how to take it out of the food bank. It's taken since 2014 to get from there to here. So when you talk about rehabilitation, if I was 10 years younger, I'd be running a prison. For the first time, first of all, I don't have a traditional household and my spouse is a judge. So I'm never going to be out of work. She puts them in jail and I rehab them when they get out. But I believe with all of my heart that some of the people who get in trouble, if by the grace of God, right? I did stupid things in school. One of the gentlemen that was with me for a long time, and you can tell this is where my passion is, not just feeding people, it's how do you build community from the ground up where everyone has a shot? Not who gets the most, who has a shot. And I make a lot of money and I post my wages publicly with my team as we negotiate what is a fair living wage, right? But when you think about the community itself, if I had my way again, even when I was teaching, the kids that were most in trouble are kids who did not have support or family love and a support mechanism. No one there to model good behavior for them, and they were usually the smartest kids in my class. That's the truth. And the same is true now for that workforce. So when you say how you shorten your life, I don't know. I don't know. I go across the United States, people ask me, how are you doing? How are you doing? I tell them how I'm doing. How can you do it? I don't know. Because it takes such a commitment. And I have this is my favorite thing. I have a no gossip, no drama policy, and I have no HR. So I am the nickname general at the food bank, and you are not allowed to talk about anybody. That is the one rule. My handbook is only 12 pages long. If somebody's name's getting ready to fall out of your mouth, you better go get them. Because if you don't, you're the one that's going to be in trouble because you don't get to be a tattletale first, right? I'm not running a daycare, I'm running a business. And you'd be surprised how many people don't want to come to my office. So a lot of them do a lot to help each other. They pick each other up. Transportation, daycare, housing. When you talk about root causes, those are the things that people who live in poverty struggle with. I never hear about those problems because 47% of my folks all have criminal backgrounds, or they're like me, who has somebody that they love who's been affected by incarceration. And so I don't hear about people up. I give anybody who wants to pick up one of their fellow employees $20 a week. That's half a gas tank. They have to come anyway. And so I have 4 or 5 folks that just pick each other up. So we're doing things that are thinking out of the box. But the law doesn't protect me. The law protects me for equality. You get a t-shirt, you get a t-shirt, you get a t-shirt. But when you're coming out of prison, you might need 15 t-shirts and you might have to use the washer and dryer that's at the food bank. You might not need any t-shirts at all. You might need 4 and they're a different size than these 4 guys, right? So for me, when we talk about equity, that's what I'm talking about. What do you need to be your best self to get to work? That's how I think you short my mind. And that's how I think it, and I have no, I'm not, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Please, every day, just remember my name, try to survive the team I serve. But I do think if more employers would think about that, how do the worker bees, how are you supporting them? And I ask them, two things happen, and I'm gonna close with that. Very good question. One is I let them negotiate their own benefits. So there was a lot of talk about, first of all, we went to a 4-day week, because I think the French have it right. We went to 4/10. So I split the team in two. Everybody has Monday or Friday off, and I kept my hands completely out. I said, I was kind of like Pontius Pilate, back in the room, figure it out. Don't come out of the room until you have it figured out. And the truck driver's like, yeah, they acted like they were so important. We can't do that. We have all of these routes we have to, we're never gonna be able to do a 4-day week. I was like, okay, no problem. But all of us are gonna do it. Got them up there, first. Can we try that? Yes. And I had to hire somebody part-time. But the whole point of the matter is, I put them in charge of being their best selves. They come to me and tell me reasonable. And I'm talking about reasonable because we run, every one of you can look at my 90. All of that is public information. So yes, here's the pool of money you have for your benefits, what you need. And one of the best things that they came to me with was, hey, we don't have any money to do things with our family, but we think it's really important and we want to be more physically fit. So we invested in a family YMCA. So if you work at the food bank, that's part of your benefits package. But so I don't know what to do for them that's best for them, but they certainly do. Okay, thank you.
I had a couple of teachers like Michelle, and I got straight A's in those classes. And now I know the reason why. Next week's, book dedication, yes. We want to continue this. This is something that's been going on for quite some time, and I want to continue it because I think that's a big part of Rotary is reading. And we have a book that Michelle's already signed. It's called Love is a Story. And I think it kind of fits that. So that'll be in the public library. So if you want to go over there and see your name in the public library, be our guest. Next week's meeting is July 19th. Our readers are Pre-Tap and David Brandenburg. Keep your eye open for upcoming programs, beavercreek.com and on Facebook. Anything else for the good of the club? Or that's coming up after this. There will be a board meeting right after this is dismissed. I have it right here. We will have a board meeting immediately following the meeting, and all are welcome to stay. All right, if there's nothing else, please all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag that stands for America, to the republic, and for the nation, liberty and all. Thank you, everybody. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for spending down here. Well, then we had to say that we have Saturday. Right, but that's basically. Yeah. Oh, no, sure. We got it. It's 3 shit. It's good. Punishment.